Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. I am so excited about today's interview. I am talking to Maria and Kristin of P.U.Z.Z.L.E. Maria is an FDN practitioner, and Kristin is a board-certified nutritionist. They are plainspoken friends and practitioners who share a passion for women's health, especially women's health at midlife. As both of them themselves are menopausal, and they've refined the art and science of thriving as a midlife woman based on both clinical and personal experience. They combine individualized nutrition and lifestyle changes tailored to midlife women's needs with mindset coaching, lab testing, hormone replacement therapy education, all to help women thrive so they can stop or prevent their health from spinning out of control. Listen in as we talk about what it means to be midlife, how your hormones might be affecting you, and how your diet and exercise plan that worked in your 20s and 30s is not working now, and it's definitely not all in your head. You are not going to want to miss this show, so let's dive in. Without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Maria and Kristin and welcome them to the show. Hey, Kristin and Maria, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, super fun to be talking to two experts today. I love when we get to do this. Well, I would love for one of you guys to just start. Maybe Kristin, if you want to just dive into a little bit more about you and how you started working in women's health.
Sure. Okay. So long background is I'm a recovering attorney, mom of 3 boys. But how I got into women's health specifically definitely had a lot to do with my own journey. I would say early 40s, definitely having what I know now was a lot of low hormone symptoms. I was kind of shooting myself in the foot by also having some low adrenal function or dysregulated adrenal function. So I definitely dosed myself with the double whammy of poor hormone, just sufficiency within my body. And I kept going to my doctor and was getting kind of the same answer. Nothing's wrong with you. We've done blood tests. Everything's fine. In fact, they at first refused to do blood tests. And, I'd go back in. I'm like, are you sure I don't have Lyme? Maybe I have chronic fatigue, like convinced something was wrong. Was pretty much pushed into the corner repeatedly and was very frustrated, started to kind of take my own health into my own hands. And long story was I ended up going back to nutrition school and really started to dive deep into how our metabolic health is impacted by nutrition and how our metabolic health sort of feeds everything else, our hormonal health, everything, right? Whether it's inflammation and the cortisol dysregulation, blood sugar, et cetera. So that's where I started learning and kind of incorporating it, probably practiced a little too much in my own family. But, really just sort of exploring this concept because it wasn't something that you ever going to hear from your own care providers. And then started working with clients and, kind of kept coming to this repeated issue related to hormonal issues, whether it was just kind of an endocrine picture in general or specifically sex hormones in midlife. So that was where then I realized this is a huge area that's being woefully underserved. It's very noisy. Women deserve better. They're not getting it. And so I sat out then additional training on various testing and things. That brought me to Maria, and the rest was kind of history because we share a very similar fiery passion on this subject. So
I love that. And I find that is so frustrating. That's what happened with me. I went to my doctor. I couldn't get pregnant and they were like, everything's fine. You have unexplained. So let's put you in an IUI because you're 36. And I'm like, wait a minute, but you just said there's nothing wrong with me. Why do I have to do that? So it's super frustrating. So I can definitely relate to that story. Yeah. And how about you, Maria? Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I was about 42 or 43 years old where I just started not feeling like myself, and I knew something was off, but I just could not put my finger on it. And I had always been somewhat, I would say health aware and holistic health aware. So I knew that I needed to seek out just a more integrative type of a doctor. So I trekked into New York City. I don't live too far from there. And I saw a very well-known doctor, many books, very prolific YouTube channel. And I didn't have the greatest time at his office. Again, remember, I was either 42 or 43. He wanted to put me on bioidentical hormones, which, we're not categorically against, but was probably a little bit too much of a jump to that right away type scenario with him. Wanted to actually put me on a bisphosphonate, a bone health drug. Lots and lots of supplements, not much guidance when it came to diet and lifestyle. Reminder, this is a holistic / integrative medical doctor. I expected a bit better. So it was that point I was like, I know that there's more to this picture. So that's when I went back to nutrition school and sought out mentorships with hormone doctors. And now here I am, almost 10 years later, and just loving this work that we do with midlife women, because what it turns out was that my body was changing due to perimenopause. I didn't quite get it, and now I really get it. Now, Kristin and I have combined, again, this passion that we have for this stage of life to help other women.
I love that. And I love too that you went back to school in your 40s. Yeah, I did the same thing. I went back to school and learned fertility in my 40s when I struggled. So that's so cool. I love that. And so talk to me a little bit about that. What does that mean? You guys work a lot with women in midlife. And so what are some things that you're seeing that maybe, these women are going to their doctors with that they're just not getting the right answers?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things is that, and I don't know if it's a generational issue for where kind of, we've all come of age and happen to be in our 40s and 50s now, but there's just a lack of knowledge and understanding on the female body and the female cycle at an individual level. And so that pushes us then into this conventional care model because it never occurs to us that this is hormonally driven and lifestyle driven. And, then we're doling out SSRIs and benzos and sleep medications and bone drugs and all these sorts of things. So the first piece is really just helping women understand what is happening and that it's not unnatural. This is a normal process in the body. For some, it may be more deranged than others because of kind of what their health looks like coming into this phase of life. But helping women understand this isn't your body being broken. Nobody's revolting against you. There's nothing wrong with you in terms of you having this diagnosis someone wants to put on you. This is just a phase of life you were unprepared for, you were not knowledgeable on, and you probably don't have the best care team to help you address it. And so we explain that, and then we try and really arm them with the information they need to gather their care team and address this head on, because it shouldn't be scary. In fact, it should be the best part of your life. You don't have the commitments and responsibilities that you had in your earlier years. And, allowing women to kind of see this as taking agency and flourishing is a lot of the work that we do.
I love that for sure. And I don't think it's talked about enough. Like you said, we hear, you're going into perimenopause or menopause and you're going to experience all these symptoms that are terrible and you just have to live with it. It's just what happens. Right. No, you don't. You can thrive in menopause and you don't have to live with all those symptoms. So I'm so glad we're talking about this. Okay. So, and Maria, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I would say what are women like going? So I would say women are going to their doctor for things like mood, depression, anxiety, fatigue. I would say women are taking to Instagram or the internet or the blogosphere when it comes to how do I lose weight? And the issue with that is that the messaging around weight loss tends to be for the 30-year-old or the 35-year-old who's got a reliable, for the most part, reliable monthly supply of cyclical hormones. And the woman who's, say, 45 to 50 who's struggling with her weight does not have a reliable supply of cyclical monthly hormones. And by hormones, I mean sex hormones. And that really makes a difference with how does she move? How do we supplement, if at all? What do we eat? Do we follow the 30-year-old dietitian, let's get, this amount of protein, this amount of carbs, this amount of fat, which is usually kind of off for our client population. So that's one of the places that we're trying to disrupt a little bit. On the internet is like letting women know that when your hormones are in decline, and they are in decline. They may be shifting, and maybe they fluctuate, but they are in a march towards decline. And when that happens, everything you thought that you knew about weight and health does change.
For sure. And I find too, a lot of stuff we see on social media, it's eat less, work out more. And now you have these hormonal issues as you're going into your 40s and 50s. And that just doesn't work. Not that it ever did, but it definitely doesn't work then. So
it doesn't work. And part of the messaging that frustrates the heck out of us is there's nothing. So we've gotten plenty of messaging on food quality, right? I think vast majority of women who are probably listening to your podcast already know they shouldn't be having, Cheez-Its and Burger King, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't cover the food composition and distribution during the day, which starts to matter. I mean, it should matter for all of us all the time. Let's be honest. If you and Maria and I knew in our 20s what we knew now, life would have been so different, right? But particularly at midlife, there's this huge imperative that women understand that not just the quality of what they're eating, but how much of what types of food they're eating drastically matters, drastically should change from what they were doing in their 30s and even early 40s. And that piece of it is tough because people start to, push back. There's some ambivalence towards that. Well, I know I should do that, but this is what I know, or this is easier, or my partner or kids or whomever might not make this easy for me. And that's where we kind of have to have this tough love discussion with women about what they're eating, because it's not about punitive. It's not about deprivation. It's not about calories in, calories out. It's about what makes up that calorie and how are you going to make a day out of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so talk to me a little more about hormones. What is happening to our hormones as we go into midlife?
So progesterone is on the decline for most women in their 40s, and it doesn't really fluctuate. It just kind of goes down. Okay, so adrenal hormones, that's anyone's guess. We could be high or low. DHEA is also an adrenal hormone. It's a vitality hormone that's likely on its decline for a majority of women as well. Let's just focus on the sex hormones. So progesterone is declining. That tends to leave women, if they're extra susceptible to feeling anxious, to not sleeping as well as they used to. So there's that. And then estrogen is high one month, low the next month, and just kind of all over the place. And so we have what we call estrogen dominance. But Kristin and I are really careful when we talk about estrogen dominance. For midlife women, and estrogen dominance means not that you necessarily have too much estrogen, just that you don't have enough progesterone to kind of shelter and make that estrogen work right and feel good in the body. So you have a relative excess, right, of estrogen. Anyway, even though estrogen dominance, right, it's nuanced for midlife women. If you have it at all, and here I will just say another reason we don't love the term estrogen dominance is it kind of attaches this negativity to estrogen. And then we have women who are like, how to flush estrogen from the body, how to get rid of estrogen. We're like, no, you don't want to do that. We want it going down the right pathways. We want it acting right at the receptor, but we don't want to flush it. No, it's the hormone that makes us female. So we tend to cringe with this larger narrative talk about estrogen dominance because it's kind of, it's wrong. It's definitely wrong for midlife women. So should we have it at all? We may have it one month and not the next. It's important to understand it's fleeting. You will not be estrogen dominant forever. In fact, it may change in a month.
Right.
But you're on your way to, so in midlife, whether it's 2 years or 6 years or 10 years of this menopausal transition, otherwise known as perimenopause, you are on your way to low to no progesterone and low to no estrogen. One particular estrogen is estradiol. You're like really, really low estradiol, and you're really, really, really low, nearly non-existent progesterone. And that is a whole different ball game than even the early stages of perimenopause.
For sure. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They think as we head into midlife, our estrogen is going up, which is causing estrogen dominance, but it's really going down. And that's
it's not as quickly as your progesterone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, we're going to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to dive into practical tips. What should we be eating in midlife? What should our exercise look like? And how do we manage stress? So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. All right, we're back. Thanks for joining us again, Maria and Kristin.
Thank you. We're loving it.
Yeah.
So let's talk practical tips. Tell us, what should we be eating in our midlife?
Okay, well, this is probably going to not be super popular with some people, but we need to be eating. And it's I want to make a point that the order in which I'm going to say this is relevant, and I'll explain why. We want to be eating more animal protein. We want to be eating fewer carbohydrates, and we want to be selecting our fats carefully according to our energy, our body composition goals, our performance needs, etc. The reason why we say it that way is there's so much messaging around low carb, low carb, low carb. And we're not going to lie. We're huge fans of low carb for a reason. And this is what women in midlife in particular don't understand. When estradiol is insufficient in a woman's body, her carb sensitivity changes at the gut level. She is unable to process the same carbs. And so what even worked at 40, at 48, 50, 52 is not going to work, even if it's, your massive salad, let's say, okay? Even if you're eating super clean and paleo and Whole30 and all these wonderful things, that does not pay attention to the macronutrient distribution. And so you're eating this huge thing of fibrous veggies and your protein is like a little piece of chicken or a little piece of salmon. One of the sex hormones that's also declining is testosterone. We need testosterone for our muscle and our body composition, which drives the speed of our metabolism, right? Mm-hmm. Those who are eating sufficient animal protein are going to be burning more calories sitting on the couch than the next person is. Mm-hmm. So it gets real sciencey into the whys on that. And that's some of the things that we teach our women. But essentially what we want to say is, yes, cut the carbs, but replace it with animal protein. You need these full amino acid profiles in order to maintain your body mass of muscle, which is critical for your bone health. It's critical for immune system. It's critical for so many things. So from a dietary standpoint, we try and keep it really simple. Yes, drop the carbs, replace it with animal protein. Be really, mindful of your fats, nothing to fear about fats, but, do you need to be going full keto and eating high fat? No. You don't at all. In fact, as our body and metabolism changes, that caloric density can start to bite women in the rear end. And so you see a lot of women who have great initial experience on high fat keto, and then suddenly they can't get that same outcome that they were seeking. That's one of the things that we teach about. So really it's just, yes, keep the whole foods in there. Absolutely be mindful to your protein. Okay, so the high protein is a really big key thing. And then, obviously being mindful of kind of how you distribute it through the day. Midlife women tend to eat most of their protein at dinner time. And what women don't realize is that not only are we trying to affect your metabolism, right, by kind of revving that up, we're hoping to not, if you don't want to bulk, that's fine, but at least maintain muscle mass to protect your bones and your health. You need to kind of evenly distribute your protein throughout the day. And so these, light protein breakfasts of smoothies, and then what Mark Sisson loves to call the big ass salad at lunch with a tiny little bit of protein, and then having your main protein in the evening, that is actually not serving you as well. So it comes down to kind of making sure that you're composing your nutrition throughout the day to serve your midlife health needs, and also distributing your protein evenly in order to maintain energy, satiety, all these other things, as well as address that body composition goal and everything else. So there's, a lot of nuances to it. And unfortunately, you don't find a lot of that on Instagram, which is why we tend to be a little bit more edgy and in your face about it, because we get it. It's noisy. It doesn't have to be. It's actually quite simple.
And I love that you're saying this, because this is what I teach my fertility clients. Like, you need more protein, you need more fat, you need less carbs, but the carbs you do need are going to be those lots of, veggies and like those low dense carbs. Right. So it sounds very similar. And I feel like a lot of time, veganism is about a buzzword, and a lot of people are wanting to do that. And I'm like, no, you can't not do that.
No, and I mean, plant-based is going to be rife with all sorts of nutritional deficiencies and cause a lot of problems with respect to your hormone health in particular, but it's also not very environmentally friendly. And that's something that we tend to kind of get hidden in the thing there, is that these monocropping and, people, I get it. People love animals and love our planet. So do we. Maria and I absolutely love animals and love our planet. But, understanding kind of what the impact is in the cycle of life and agriculture and things like that is really, really key. So if that's something that's driving a woman's nutrition decisions, we would recommend things like the movie Sacred Cow and some of the opportunities out there to really understand that your understanding is being driven by big food, and that's a profit bias and motivation, and it's not serving your health. So.
For sure. Can you go into a little bit about what the protein kind of composition looks like? You said medium-sized protein, but what exactly does that mean?
So when we talk about animal protein, and particularly for midlife women, what we want to see is anywhere from 0.8 to 1.2. So let's just keep it easy. 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. Some people will talk about lean body mass. That's a really difficult number for the average woman to kind of target, unless we've got full body DEXA scans that really can give us accurate amounts of what our body fat percentage is. Understanding what your lean body mass gets confusing. So we just keep it simple. 1 gram per pound of your ideal body weight. You target that. you're a rock star, because I guarantee you that even those of us in the know still work. We put effort into getting that much protein in our day. Then the kind of distribution, what we talked about, 30 grams per meal is really essential. We've got what we're going for here is muscle protein synthesis, right? We're trying to uptake that protein and utilize it for our body in a certain way. We need 30 grams of one of the amino acids, leucine, in order to meet the threshold that actually triggers muscle protein synthesis. So when women are eating these small protein meals, that protein's not being utilized by the body in the way that our goal is. So that's why we say 30 grams per meal minimum, and then daily total minimum of 1 gram per pound of your body weight. So that is, kind of the benchmark that we use for these women. And animal protein at the end of the day, this isn't going to be popular with some people, but quinoa is not giving you a full complement of amino acids. You will not achieve muscle protein synthesis, nor will you have satiety. And that's a big thing Maria and I talk about with our ladies, is why we get those cravings and those energy sinks or we overeat has to do a lot with we don't feel satiated. We don't feel that we have nutritionally met our own needs from both an energy standpoint and a nutrient standpoint. And unfortunately, non-animal based proteins are incomplete and they will not meet those goals for you. And so you can fill up, women can say all the time, I feel full on my quinoa salad. That's a stretch factor. That's a bulk issue. That has nothing to do with satiety. And, learning satiety and getting reacquainted with satiety is a huge learning curve up front. But when a woman gets it and she finds it, it's like this aha moment of epiphany, and it's wonderful.
I love it. I love it. Maria, did you have anything to add?
Yeah. So Kristin said, and I just want to drive this point home. So Kristin said, 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. Now I'm 5'7", she's 5'8", right? We don't have to say our weights, but let's just say that we are on a daily basis aiming to get like over 120, 130 grams of protein per day. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it does take attention. It does take intention, and it takes, really making an effort and just realizing like you need to know and understand how important this is. Yeah. And this is like, again, midlife women, very easy to slide into insulin resistance, very easy to slide into sarcopenia. Well, how do you prevent that? You take steps right now. Right? As you are early 40s, early 50s, whatever you are. I mean, really truly at any age, because it's important all the time. But, we do speak and work almost, exclusively with midlife women. And, we've got to move them away from, again, Kristin mentioned a name before, so I'm just going to mention a name now. Like, Dr. Mark Hyman has absolutely done a lot of good work for like real food and real fats. But he has also kind of promoted the protein as a condiment. And we're sort of like trying to flip that. No, make the protein is like the main event of the day, of every day.
Yeah. Telling women to think of like a side salad instead of the salad being the meal, and you think of that side salad you get at a restaurant. That's the volume we're talking about max, and you don't eat it every meal. And we're definitely steaks over shakes girls. Okay. So we would prefer that you be chewing your food and not drinking it, but we recognize that in certain instances that you can utilize some other tools provided they're complete proteins. But even teaching our clients how to mix proteins. I think so many midlife women come into this and they think high animal protein, I can't eat steak 3 meals a day. You don't have to. There's wonderful ways to utilize good pasture raised poultry to wild fish, other options. It doesn't have to be all red meat, bison, etc. There's so many options out there. So it's a lot of times it's just teaching and sort of, providing them resources while helping them unlearn a lot of bad messaging from the past.
So that was my next question. What are some of your favorite protein sources?
Oh,
I'm a red meat girl.
Me too. I'm from Tennessee and we love our steak.
Yeah. I'm a Midwestern girl, so I'm all about team steak, and Maria loves her fillets and I love my ribeyes and strips and all that good stuff. But there's some great other things out there. We've been exploring with different like ancestral blends, where there's like some organs mixed in. We don't think that organs are necessary for everyone. I know that's real controversial right now. But if you're someone who's looking to lose weight, it can be tough because sometimes the most yummy animal proteins can be a little bit higher in fat, which will take up the caloric density and then have issues with trying to push that weight loss. So, we also love fish. Maria loves salmon. I love Arctic char. We refer to scallops and shrimp as being like protein jewels. I mean, you throw a couple things in and, in addition to your steak, and that's another piece, layering your proteins. Last night I made shrimp cakes, and I made those shrimp cakes with some pork rind crumbs and, some yummy, tasty spices and whatnot and shrimp, but then I had it alongside a steak. It doesn't have to be just one single protein. Really helps avoid palate fatigue, and it keeps a woman feeling like she's not depriving herself by just sticking down this narrow path. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about my love of bacon, because I make absolutely no apologies for bacon and pork belly.
We love bacon over here too.
Yeah, good.
So let's talk about movements. You talk about there's different ways to move in midlife. So what does that look like?
We really like to base it on your level of health, your level of inherent vitality. Like, we don't want to see a woman who is, not sleeping, not nourishing herself right, waking up at 5:30 in the morning to go to an Orange Theory fitness class, right? And so we're not fans of just like these intense cardio workouts. We don't always have a lot of time to dedicate to fitness. So, if you can get in 20 to 30 minutes a week in a session, 2 or 3 times, strength training is really going to be the most bang for your buck. But even that, like, if a woman is really depleted and she can't lift heavy, then maybe we replete her with minerals, we get her eating right, we get her sleeping, and maybe she does restorative yoga and walking. And when she has more energy, then she can add workouts that are a little bit more intense. But what we do is we do customize this for each client. And a lot of it we're going to base on what do your adrenal glands look like on the Dutch test. And the Dutch test is a great test for adrenal health because we see all the adrenal markers that we need to see.
Yeah. Yeah, we tell women all the time, the movement piece is huge, but let's dial in the nutrition first. After that, as Maria said, we're going to look at what are the unique things that you have going on. If your estrogen and testosterone are completely in the tank, you're going to have a heck of a time building muscle, right? So we're going to want to address some of those deficiencies on a hormonal level, as well as all the other vitamins and minerals and nutrition. But then lifting heavy at the end of the day is where it's at for women. It's how our bones get stressed. It's how our muscles get built and connected. Really, really important for us. The Peloton, I get it. It's simple. It's easy. People have been locked down for a while. It's not serving you after about the age of 43, period. Not a favorite thing women are going to want to hear, but I would ditch the Peloton in a heartbeat, ditch the Orange Theory fish, the HIIT training, all of that stuff. That can be accessory work in the background 1 day a week. The long cardio, the women who are just wedded to their 5Ks every single day, not serving you. Another thing Maria and I really talk about with our women is your joint health. And, when hormones start to go down, it's not in your head that you get achy. Okay. It really impacts your connective tissue, your cartilage health, etc. And so suddenly we start to guard against those things. We kind of adopt compensatory movements that are not great. So a woman like that should not go jump into heavy lifting. She needs to work with someone who's going to work into what's her joint capsule look like? What's her mobility? Yoga and Pilates are great, but they're about flexibility. They're about lengthening muscles. We want to strengthen our muscles and strengthen our joints. So we really need to look at, make sure you've got someone who's got an eye on you, who knows that your shoulder rotates all the way, right? Before you try and do a push-up, things like that. So we really make it an individualized discussion based on kind of what's your testing, what's your hormonal status, how's your nutrition, and then, sort of what's your health history look like in terms of your joints and muscles.
I love that. And I feel like it's almost giving us permission to back off a little bit on the high intensity, because we've learned our whole lives, like, to be fit, you got to work out hard, no pain, no gain. And it's not true, especially in midlife. So I love that we're kind of debunking that.
We're begging women to back off. We're imploring you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about stress. What are some quick tips on everybody's like, just relax. I hate when people say that, but it's actually a stress management plan. And so talk to us about that. What are some of your quick tips for managing stress?
Yeah, we always say that you'll never hear us tell you to reduce stress, because we realize that that's just not realistic, and it's just kind of somewhat patronizing, actually. Right. So, I think in this very hyper-connected world and, kind of like post-COVID era, we're all on our computers and we're getting lots of news and things like that. I think taking a step away from this and getting into nature, getting into the natural world is really a huge, huge thing. So that's one thing, take a break from the 24/7 news cycle. I don't think we realize how much it actually affects us. So that's super simple. Everyone can do that. Going to leave Kristin up to the next one.
Well, and Maria she's better than I am, to be honest, in terms of getting outside and getting morning sunlight. This helps reset your circadian rhythm. It really kind of trains your brain on various things. Even if it's, ladies, just going out barefoot in your backyard and enjoying your cup of coffee, looking around at the sun. And it doesn't have to be a beautiful eggshell blue sky day. Just getting daylight in the morning, grounding yourself outdoors. These are huge, huge parts that don't require a lot of time, et cetera. And we get it. Some women, they're up and out the door for work right away. Take your lunch outside, plug into some great playlist of music and walk, get outside and do that. But we talk about, women coming into this phase of life perceive self-care as indulgent. And we need to really break that narrative, because we're not talking about going and getting a massage. What we're talking about is winding down, caring for yourself with maybe an Epsom salt bath at night, even just rubbing a good lotion and body butter on. I mean, things like this, that we start to care for ourselves, have a huge impact on stress. Meditation, if that's not your thing, and I'll be honest, I can't meditate you could put a gun to my head. I cannot meditate. Right. But I have a different prayer practice. And so whether it's prayer or gratitude journaling or something, but ways to sort of acknowledge your stress and embrace your stress are going to help reduce your stress. And that's something that we spend too much time running from it or being frustrated that we can't get rid of it. That's where the stress becomes stressful, So if we do some of those things, and whether it's tapping, essential oils, there's so many tools out there. But again, it goes back to breaking that notion that these are indulgences and that we have to kind of steal away and sneak off to do these things. There's no place for that in midlife.
Right. I love that. And one of my favorite things is walking outside barefoot and just like grounding into that grass. And I even do it in the moonlight, try to set that natural clock at night.
Yeah.
So powerful. I love that. Well, I could talk about this all day, but we do have to wrap up. So tell our audience where we can find you. How can we work with you?
We're very active on Instagram, and we like to provide a lot of education and occasional inspiration, but I would say we're really pretty education forward. So if they just type into the search bar on Instagram, Wise and Well, you'll see Kristin and my picture come right up, and they can follow us there.
Yep. We've got a great website too, if the people want to know what we do, and that would be wiseandwell.me. And in our Instagram bio, we do have links that would take you to another option, which is a kind of quiet, safe community that we run on Mighty Networks for midlife women, where we just share a lot of more, in-depth information than what we put out on Instagram, but in a similar vein. And so there's lots of ways to kind of get in touch and just lurk and engage. And Maria's phenomenal on Instagram in responding to people. She's a huge giver that way. So, we like to be available to people, whether they're clients or not.
I love that. And we'll have all that in the show notes. It'll be really easy to find.
Great.
So Any final thoughts before we close out here today?
Midlife can be a really great time of life, but I always like to say, and this is where we are real and we're known for bringing tough love, compassion, and this mix of compassion, but tough love. And that is, you have to work a little harder. I don't know, is it 43? Is it 45? Is it 47? I'm not sure. But, when you start to feel that change, as so many women do, it's not a time to shrink back. It's a time to say, okay, what can I do to make this the best time of my life?
Yeah. And I would say, and don't apologize for it. It's not that indulgence, but it's also your kids are watching, your other friends, ladies who probably could use support are watching, your spouse or partner's watching. And what you do for yourself in this next chapter of life isn't just serving you, but it's serving them as well. And so it's something to just really, invest in. And again, not be apologetic, because this is your future. And Maria just said it. I mean, we love where we're at right now in life. This has truly been the best chapter. And it's kind of like a dirty little secret that we love to kind of, get our clients in on and explain that, this can be amazing. So it takes work, but you've been working hard your whole life to get to this point. So, turn it around on yourself now. It's your turn.
I love that. Well, thank you ladies both for being here. I really enjoyed our conversations. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening to the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L Podcast. Until next time, bye for now. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.